Everybody smiles in the same language. A smile, let your light come shining through.
Welcome to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. I'm Sandra M., coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment. I interview people from all parts of the world about what happiness means to them. What are they in love with? In each episode, we'll give you a key to happiness to include in your life. And of course, we'll play a happy tune from my live Celebrate Happiness Roadshow.
A smile doesn't cost you anything.
Welcome to the third season of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And don't forget to catch up on any episodes from seasons 1 and 2 you might have missed. Today we are talking with Pooja Bansal, the Executive Vice President and Global Head of Human Resources at J Global, a global IT consulting and services company headquartered in Silicon Valley, California. Educated at both Harvard Business School and Wharton School and a Mumbai University rank holder, Pooja has 22 years of experience across diverse industries and geographies and has built a reputation for leading large-scale transformation, shaping high-performing cultures, and aligning people strategy with business growth. Having worked extensively with multicultural teams and traveled and lived across countries such as Italy, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and a few others, she is passionate about building inclusive workplaces while navigating diverse leadership styles and cultures. She is particularly passionate about organizational diagnostics, cultural transformation, employee engagement, leadership development, and creating high-performance organizations where people and business outcomes grow together. In addition, Pooja, a lifelong learner, is deeply curious by nature and enjoys intellectual stimulating conversations, reading, exploring new ideas, and understanding human behavior. She loves traveling, experiencing different cultures, and learning from people with diverse backgrounds and perspectives. Pooja, I am so excited to have you here on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow to talk about happiness and how does it manifest in your life?
Wow, Sandra, thank you so much for inviting me for this roadshow. And it's such an interesting topic, happiness. I think for me, manifesting happiness isn't about wishing for a perfect life. Sometimes it's about creating some moments that make life meaningful. And those moments can be very, very small, like just sipping a coffee with your family, having a nice chat with your friends, going for a movie, celebrating some small wins that happen here and there. So I try to make a lot of space for these small things, and the more space I make for these small things, the more happier I feel. So happiness doesn't just happen to me. I think it's about even creating room for this happiness that comes from these small moments.
That is fantastic, because I spent some time, 2 hours actually yesterday, talking with a friend who is basically on my same energy vibe. And the rest of the day, I was just so happy. I was amazed because most of the people I interact with are not necessarily my good friends, and we're not on the same energy vibe necessarily. So I agree with you. Is there anything else? I'm just thinking about, well, in your bio, you talked about how you're so connected to nature, and how does that work for you?
I love open spaces and I love to be under the sky. I love to breathe and I love to see people in the natural and normal spaces rather than literally looking at them in artificial spaces. And that's when I appreciate nature more. I have deep interest in observing people. I love to observe people from different nationalities, from different countries, geographies, and it amazes me how all of them are different, but there's always something to take away from each one of them. So there's something that just makes you smile, just leaves a memory with you. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I think nature is all about enjoying the open spaces for me.
Are there a lot of open spaces where you live? I mean, you're in India, and of course, not having never been to India, but I do realize there are millions and millions and millions of people there, correct?
Mhm.
However, it is a very big country,
Yeah.
so you got lots of land. And so where you actually are, do you have open spaces? Is that how your city is devised?
Ironically, I'm raised in a city in India, which is Mumbai. And Mumbai is the metro city of India, the
Mhm.
most busiest city that you could actually imagine. They're
Yes.
like really millions and millions of people, a very busy lifestyle. They're all the time running around. They really don't have time enough for themselves.
Mm,
But I think I have been traveling so much that I've been very lucky and fortunate to find space where I can actually look at nature, I can interact with people, I can enjoy that little moments that I get all the time.
hmm.
And currently, even in India, I live in a city called Pune, which is practically and comparably smaller than Mumbai. But
Okay.
here, yes, you do get space for yourself, and plus, if you can kind of afford a good living, you can
Mm.
have these big apartments, garden areas, open areas, and if you own that, you have your space. And I'm lucky to have one of them.
Oh, wonderful, Pooja. Marvelous. So that when you get done with your working day, you can immerse yourself. I love my garden. I have a garden. I have an acre and a half of land
Mhm.
around my house, and
Wow.
I'm out there all the time, right? Yes. So, we talked once before about Bhutan, and I know I've been to Bhutan, and I'm wondering, since we're on the whole subject of open spaces and nature, nature is a lot different in Bhutan than it is in India, right?
Hmm.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Oh, I loved that visit, to be honest. And like I said, Sandra, I'm born and raised into a city in India, which is one of the most busiest city, Mumbai. So when
Mm.
you actually visit Bhutan, oh, it's an amazing experience, completely different. I wasn't just stuck by the beauty that Bhutan has, the beautiful mountains or the beautiful nature, the beautiful people that Bhutan has, how warm they are, so welcoming. But I was also stuck by the pace of their life. So, people
Yes.
didn't seem to be constantly rushing. There was a sense of calm, contentment, and of course it made me reflect on how often we confuse being busy with being successful, and that's what we are all the time thinking, right? If we are more busy, we are more successful. But
Mhm.
Bhutan reminded me of that happiness sometimes comes from slowing down and appreciating where you are and appreciating the small moments of joy that you live in. So I would say I think Bhutan was one of the best visits that I ever had. And it's going to stay in my memories for a very long time.
I feel the same way. I never wanted, when I got there,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I just felt like I was at home. Like it's a home place for me, a soul place for me. And I did not want to leave. And of course, they don't allow you to live there, at least Western Americans. I don't know about people from India, if they're allowed to live there or not, but you can't get a visa, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Mhm. However, me so much was that they have tigers there. And
Yeah.
and they have, and I know they have tigers in India also. I'm very connected to animals, and
Mhm.
there are many other animals. But I remember I was there for 14 days on a private tour. So I had
Wow.
this man, 12 hours a day taking me everywhere. And he was telling me about the tigers. And he said, in Bhutan, if you would kill a tiger, which is something they
Mhm.
would never do, but
Mm.
say you do, and you're caught, you will spend your life in jail, in prison.
Oh,
I
wow.
was astounded by that. And
Mm.
why would you, what are you going to do? Well, you sit there and you work on your karma, he said. You know,
Oh,
so yeah, you don't break up rocks or, do some horrible thing like you would do here in America, that kind of thing, or chain gang or whatever it may be. But you, the whole concept, he might have been exaggerating. Maybe you don't spend your whole life there, but you spend a lot of time. Why did you kill a living being?
wow.
Because they
Mm.
consider all animals and trees living entities. They
Right.
don't even cut their trees down. Mm-hmm.
Another thing, while you're talking about this, I also remember what caught my attention was the simplicity of the people of Bhutan. You
Yes.
know, I mean, uh, it's not about that they were looking for more and more. I think they taught us that it's sometimes good to have less or want less. I mean, they are the people who seemed content with simple pleasures, very strong community, family, being
Mm-hmm.
very close to nature. So I guess it taught me that happiness is not just about being successful or running behind some milestones, about achievements, but it's also about just having a very simple life.
Mm-hmm. Which brings me to the next question,
Hmm.
which is, I know that you are the head of HR, you're very involved in organizational development for this major company. And so, of course, the company is focused on AI, or at least a large part of it is. And so I can imagine that you are also very knowledgeable about AI, how it rolls out. And of course, here in America, everybody's terrified. Well, not everybody, but people are talking all the time about AI is going to take over all our jobs, this and this and this.
Hmm.
And one man was talking about the fact that he's not afraid that so much that AI will, take over our jobs, but that human beings will become more like AI, less human. So I'm wondering your thoughts.
Yeah, I know this is something that I guess everybody is talking about, but according to me, AI can be intelligent, but it cannot be human, right? At the end, as humans, we are blessed with few things that I cannot imagine AI really adapting to it. Of course, AI can generate ideas, analyze data, answer questions in seconds. But can it experience the joy, gratitude, compassion, or the comfort of even a smile and a hug that a human can bring? I think
Mhm.
these are uniquely human experiences, and that's what we as humans have to remember, that even though AI is going to challenge us professionally, and we have to be upskilled, update ourselves to compete with AI, but at the same time, in the world of AI, we have to become more human as well. And that's what is going to differentiate the humans from the AI.
Mhm. How are we going to become more human as well? I love that statement. What are
Mhm.
your
I think, you know what? Let's think about how AI is really going to help us. It's going to help freeing our time to do some repetitive tasks, some things that are so rudimentary, transactional, operational. So leave it for the AI to do.
mm-hmm.
But then we get all the time that we save. Let's spend that time in collaborating, building relationships, creating, innovating. And that's where we as humans have to use AI as an opportunity and not as a threat. So
Mhm.
use all the time that you can save, because you have AI to do a lot of your tasks, but you have a lot of work as a human to do. You still have to focus on collaborating with people, creating innovating spaces, building relationships. So I think that's where we will make a difference. And that's how we should use AI to our advantage rather than use thinking that it's a threat to us.
Mhm. Okay, so let's go on the concept. I love what you're saying, and I think our listeners are really going to be interested in. We're talking about collaborating, innovation, building relationships. Do you
Right.
think people actually value that, or do we have to make a shift in consciousness that this needs to be valued? Now, I'm not just talking about the workplace, but also humanity as a whole, like all those millions of people in Mumbai. Do they value this kind of humanness, collaborative innovation, building relationships?
I think I have very mixed reactions to it. I guess everybody is different, and that's why we say that people are unique. They have their own individual differences.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of them do realize the merit in collaborating, in bringing the respect, the affection. But a lot of them still, I don't think they're very close to the humanity because they're so self-centered. And I
Mhm.
think this is why I feel one aspect that people can pick if you really want to remain happy. I think you need to be less self centered.
Mhm.
You have to be less absorbed in yourself, because the more you're absorbed in yourself, you just won't be able to contribute or look outside. You're not going to be able to build relationships that last long. You're
Mhm.
not going to stop complaining. In fact, uh, you're going to feel that you're the one who is suffering the most, whereas that's not true. So I think be less self-absorbed, be less kind of self focused. If
Mhm.
we are able to do that, we definitely can embrace humanity and can of course value the collaboration, the community, the relationships that we build.
Right. Okay. I totally agree. I totally the Dalai Lama. I follow the Dalai Lama. I seem to think I don't know. I just think he's a very brilliant person.
Mm-hmm.
And, he does talk about this quite a bit, even on the Facebook, and his short little clips that people put on, he's on the Facebook. And he
Mm-hmm.
talks all the time about this whole concept of self centeredness. Do not, too much self centeredness leads to violence, basically,
Yeah.
is what he was saying. Because the question that was put to him was, how can we, so how can we stop the violence, in our societies and in our homes and so forth and so on? And that was one of his answers. So if
Mm-hmm.
we project that out into countries, he basically also talks about the fact that yes, we have nationalisms. As you said, you travel widely. People are very different. They have different cultures, etc. However, we don't have to fight over whose culture is best, right?
Right.
As what he's saying. And he said the same thing about religion. We don't have to
Mm.
fight over which religion has priorities with God or whomever they feel is the head of everything. So, I just think to myself, okay, I know we can only affect individuals, right? I mean, we're an individual, etc. But how are we going to get people to be less self-centered and move that out into a larger context? Any ideas?
Uh, I, I guess this is going to be possible only when people spend more time appreciating what they see or what they have around, right? So that
Mhm.
this is something that you cannot force on people. It has to be inside out rather than outside in.
Mm-hmm.
But despite that, I still feel that we have to stop focusing on ourselves, our problems, our successes, our disappointments. but of course invest in more relationships. But for all of that, people have to start seeing the value that it brings to them,
Yes.
and they will be able to see the value. That's only when they look at everything with a positive mindset rather than with a cynical approach. Because the moment they look at everything with a cynical approach, they're going to look at only negative. So there's no way that those guys can value anything that happiness can bring to them, or anything that this collaboration relationship can do wonders for them. So I think it has
Mhm.
to be more inside out, but they have to see and feel the value of it, and they have to feel it themselves. There's nobody who can come and tell them or
Mhm.
preach them. That's something that I've learned, Sandra. The more you tell people, the more they disbelieve in it. But the more they experience and they start seeing that this is the value that this relationship has created, that's when they start believing in it.
So I love it. I love it. It's all down to what do you believe and how do you realize that you do believe it because you feel it, you experience it. So I do know that you have a background, extensive background in business, etc., but also in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from the theater, and of course,
Yeah.
go ahead. I want to know how that experience of being in the theater and being able to create, albeit on a stage, but still be able to create a reality that other people will sit in an audience and absolutely believe. So it's the process of creating a vision, creating a reality that other people can walk into.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking how you feel that your experience has influenced you one way or the other.
Sandra, I must admit that there are very few people around me who actually know that I did theater for a couple of years. And
Mm-hmm,
this was something that I always loved: drama,
mm-hmm,
acting.
mm-hmm,
So I'm so glad to get into this conversation with you about theater. I love it because I think in that moment, I'm somebody else.
mm-hmm,
It kind of helps me to step into somebody else's world. You begin to understand what other people must have gone through, their dreams, their mistakes, their emotions. So you learn so much to empathize, right? And that's what theater teaches you. It just reminds you that every person has a story. And that's one reason that I love theater. And I still feel in my profession of HR, theater has helped me a lot. So the passion that I had, it still helps me to be empathetical to people. It
mm-hmm.
helps me to really look at their side of the story, just keeping my side away, because that's what theater is all about as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting thing I find about theater is, it's in a world that is so much of chaos, right?
Mm.
Everybody is running here, there. I think theater is one of the few experiences with where everyone is completely present, right?
Right.
I mean, you have your audience right there, looking at live theater where there are no editing, no retakes, no rewind. Everything is real. So every performance is unique. And I think there's something incredibly joyful about sharing that moment and looking at the audience who is watching you there every minute, listening to every dialogue that you cater. I think it's amazing. It's a real life experience.
Right. And when you say that everybody is completely present, you're
Mhm.
referring to the people on the stage, right? The actors.
I am referring to the actors as well as I'm referring to the audience, because they know that they're not going to get to watch that again, right? If there's an
Mhm.
emotion that just got delivered on the stage, right, which is real, they're not going to get to see that if they missed it. So I think both sides, the actors on the stage as well as the audience sitting there and watching the real theater, the real drama, I think they're all very much present. And that's
Right.
what I love about it. But Sandra, I want to hear about your experience. I know you did a lot of theater yourself. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, the concept of being present. And also, even though actors who are under the gun, let's say, to produce a show, I just went to see the movie The Odyssey. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay, so it's monumental. It's huge. I mean, I can't even believe being in that boat and all the other things that they were. I mean, all that was real. That was not done in a studio, etc. And so to make it as authentic as possible. However, all the people, that's a movie as opposed to a stage play. But even in a stage play, you have stage managers, costume people, etc., behind the scenes people. Even though there might be a lot of tension, I would say, as the opening night gets closer and closer, and we're rehearsing and this and that, there is a great sense of collaboration. Going back to your word, if you mess up, number one, you'd be fired immediately. Okay, because you always have your understudy. There's always an understudy ready to take over. And other than that, you just so realize that you need the other actor. You can't come to the play drunk. You can't, you can't forget your lines. The whole concept of the show must go on. I was thinking about that today in terms of some of the work that I do. It's a very real idea in show business. Right. Which is a very difficult business. We're not talking about just being in a community play or something like that, but that's very valid. But it's a difficult business. But the truth is, all those actors, all those people who are involved know in their gut the show must go on. And I think that's true for humanity. We're going back to AI, going back to all the things that we've been discussing, and this discussion could go on for hours. But anyway, humanity, the show must go on. We have to do what we have to do in order to make it happen. To make the show come alive, to make it present, to make everybody connect. All of these things. And it takes sometimes an enormous amount of energy, as in the Odyssey. I can only imagine. They were talking about having to run up the hill to the cave where the Cyclops was, right? 45 minutes running up the hill in sandals.
Yeah.
Real, Roman sandals, like their feet were cut up. I mean, their backs were burnt. I mean, they're just not used to doing this, but they did it. Right. They had, not just because they were being paid millions of dollars, I'm assuming, but because they believed in the project. It's a collaborative effort. And if we could anyway, that's my thoughts. And what do you have to say about what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree. And another thing that just comes to my mind is when you watch, or when you're actually in the theater, every character, every person is the hero in it. Right? So each one of them is in the limelight, and everybody has actually a star role to perform. And everybody has their own emotions, expressions, style. So it just teaches you a lot more than anything else can teach person. So yeah, I mean, I think you and me can go on and on theater, because I guess it's so fascinating.
Well, yes. And when we talk about cultures, and going back to Bhutan culture, you were talking about it's slower, they're more simple in their interactions with nature and with the world. And yet what is underneath that quote unquote simplicity is actually profound. That's the only country in the world where they are 99% carbon free.
You're right.
Okay. Why is that? Because they do not cut down any of their trees. They could have a big ski resort or something of that nature, but the profound understanding of reality for them is that even though the ski resort would bring in a lot of tourists and money and whatever, all those trees would have to be, and they wouldn't do that. So, I mean, there are profound values underneath what they're actually doing, I think.
No, you're right. In fact, after having traveled so much and after having interact with so many nationalities and visiting and of course looking at different cultures, I think one thing that different cultures have taught us is to have gratitude. You know,
Yes, yes.
every country that I visit made me appreciate something that they had different. Some cultures with a lot of discipline, some culture comes with huge hospitality and warmth, some have simplicity, so
Mhm.
much. And we learn how to be to give that gratitude, to express gratitude, because all that I keep asking myself is that what can I learn from this culture, and what is it that makes them happy that can make me happy. So I think that's something that we should take away from every time we look at cultures and nationalities and countries, actually.
And maybe just other people.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
What can we give to that person, and what can we learn from them? If we approach people like that, as opposed to, well, he's very different than me and I don't like this or that. Which is what goes on here in America at the present time. There's so much divisiveness and etc. But anyway, we won't get into that. We are coming to the end of our conversation. And so I always like to ask if there's any last thoughts other than, how do you want to, any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I think, out of my experience, just try to find joy, happiness in small moments.
Mhm.
In the rush to chase some big achievements, big milestones, don't miss those little moments that can actually keep you happy. And maybe you realize it way too late in life, that wish you had paused, reflected, and enjoyed those moments. Uh, for me, like, happiness isn't just about destination we arrive at one day. It's something that you cultivate and you nurture for a very long time. It's something we choose to notice every day. It can be found in, like I said, in gratitude, in collaborations, meaningful relationships, appreciating the little moments. But I think this is what builds your biggest memories. And
Yes.
that's what we all have to cherish. What are those small moments which will, at some point of time in the life, will actually appear to be the biggest memories and will go a long, long way with us.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for being on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast.
Thank you, Sandra. It was such a pleasure interacting with you, and I had so much fun. I didn't even realize we actually spent like really way above 25 minutes, but it was amazing experience and conversation. Thank you for having me here.
Monthly Keys to Happiness. Create a thought list. Take control of your thoughts. At the start of each month, make a short list of happy memories or things you're looking forward to on a small piece of paper or on your phone.
And when you find yourself waiting for a ride, standing in line at the grocery store, or just with a few minutes to kill, break out the list.
You can even use it when you're just generally feeling down and need to change up your thoughts.
Newsflash! Please sign up for your copy of our Keys to Happiness at sandramcknight.com. Thank you for tuning into Season 3 of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And if you enjoyed the conversation, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family. And don't forget to catch up on any episodes from Seasons 1 and 2 that you might have missed. Before we go, I'd like to thank today's guest, Pooja Bansal, for sharing her happiness story. And to share your happiness story on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast, send an email to sandra@sandramcknight.com.
Turn your smile on, you can't go wrong. You'll find that love is all around. Follow your bliss, no one is against you.